Hello, everyone. I'm Miranda, and today I'm going to be talking about environmental colonialism. So, first, I just wanted to start off by defining colonialism, if anyone is unaware of the term. It's when settlers came into this land and took control over the land and the people. They did this because they felt like they could conquer the land because it was divinely appointed to them, which I will talk about a little bit more later. Before the colonizers were here, the Native Americans had this collaborative relationship with the environment where they didn't view the environment being there just for their consumption, but it was an actual relationship where it was um a give and take situation. So environmental colonialism is the way in which colonial practices have impacted the natural environment of indigenous peoples and people's relationship with the environment. The colonizers altered native ecosystems and even brought diseases to the indigenous people, wiping out a lot of the indigenous people. And so a lot of the cultural practices were gone because of that. Um, one of the main reasons for environmental colonialism is because white Americans believe in the idea that they were divinely appointed to settle the entire continent of North America. And I included a picture of Manifest Destiny, which is something that we talked about a little earlier in the semester. And in the picture, we can see how it is pushing the angels pushing people out, pushing the original people out, and they are rebuilding. And this whole concept is built on being appointed by God, and that's why in the picture we can see the woman who's an angel being a light and pushing out the darkness, which is the Native Americans who were here before. Um, so one of the authors that I wanted to include was a philosopher named Arne Ness, who created the term deep ecology. Deep ecology is a philosophy and a movement where we as humans need to change the way we think about nature. It is not something that people are separate from, and we are not in charge of nature. Arne Ness also said the ecological problems come from the narrative of human supremacy, and these problems can go way back to when Manifest Destiny was first created in the year 1845, with people having the idea that they're appointed to be in charge of the land they came onto. Like I said, they didn't view the land as something that was the same level as them, but something that they could take control over, which Arnie says is one of the main reasons we have ecological problems. And I think it's important to remember that that we are not in charge of nature and we are not the stewards of nature. So I think it's also important to rethink our relationship with nature. And one of the authors who does a really good job at that is Robin Kimmerer, and she's a Native American botanist and also the author of Braiding Sweetgrass, which we read a while ago. And if you can recall, Braiding Sweetgrass talks about the relationships that humans have with nature, and it opens up by talking about the Haudenosaunee Nation's creation story, about Sky Woman and the Turtle Land and everything. And I really enjoyed reading the story, and there was a lot that stood out to me, but a few things that I wanted to point out about this story is in the section of the gift of strawberries, she talks about how seeing the strawberries gave her a sense of unworthiness and gratitude for the generosity and kindness that comes with the gift of strawberries. And I think that is just important because um we don't have a relationship with fruit and vegetables anymore. I don't think many people go out and they don't and feel gratitude when they see fruits and vegetables or when they eat fruits and vegetables. Because unfortunately, due to colonization, that connection and that relationship was lost. And I think it's really important to go back in time and think about the relationships that were once had with the environment. And on page 40 of her Braiding Sweetgrass, she says, I experienced the world in that time as a gift economy, goods and services, not purchased but received as gifts from the earth. And then she poses the question, how in our modern world can we find our way to understand the earth as a gift again? Um, I included a little section of this Thanksgiving address that is used in my tribe, and we give thanks before we eat or gather in like large groups, and it's called the Ganonyok. Um, and we basically just go through each thing that the earth has provided us with, and we spend time thanking it. So this is how it goes. It goes Scad Hendwayant, which means one we will have. Ongwatnigoi, our mind. Deatinonyo, we give thanks to them. Joheko, our life sustainers, which are the three sisters, which is corn, beans, and squash. Dani Honi Duak Onogwanigoi, and let it be that way in our minds. And like I said, we say this before every gathering, and we basically go through and talk about, like, we thank our brother, the water, we thank the creator, we thank the trees, we thank the wind, we thank everything that is given to us as a gift from the earth. And I think that's really important because it gives us time to, like, step back from our lives and think about everything that is given to us as a gift. And I think that's just really important. Another author that I wanted to include in this is Winona LaDuke, who is a Native American activist, economist, and environmentalist. She advocates for Indigenous people to have control of their land and their natural resources and cultural practices. This relates back to environmental colonialism because LaDuke's main argument is that ecological problems come from colonization alongside environmental destruction and genocide. So like I said, the Indigenous people were wiped out, like, due to diseases and things, and with that, that relationship with the environment was lost, and so therefore people just think that the environment is something there for our consumption, and so they don't feel the need to really take care of it that much. That's also why there's environmental destruction. Winona LaDuke also founded the White Earth Land Recovery Project, which seeks to regain lands that were taken from Indigenous people through improper sales and property theft. It also looks to reforest the lands and revive agricultural practices, which I think is really important because in a lot of tribes, one of the main things is agricultural things and, like, the practices that are had. So I mentioned a little earlier that I am Native American, and I also talked about Kim Rare mentioning the Haudenosaunee Nation, and one of the tribes in that nation is the Seneca tribe, which I'm a part of, and it's located in upstate New York. And my people and I have had a long history of having this relationship between nature and humans, but when we were colonized, it ended. And I think it's important to touch on the things that we are doing to rebuild that relationship and that connection. So we're offering gardening programs on the reservation where my tribe gives out gardening tools, and they also give out a lot of gardening advice and cultural gardening advice to the people of the tribe. And they also are able to buy locally from this farm. It's called Gakwio Farms, and Gakwio means good food. And their goal for this farm is to reconnect the philosophy of our ancestors and pledge to promote the relationship between our people, our lands, and the foods we eat. Gakwio Farms focuses on many of the foods that once grew on this land naturally. So that means things like nuts, trees, acre of berries, and what the Senecas hold dear to us, which are the three sisters. And recently, like as of a couple of years ago, they have started to breed and raise their own bison on the reservation, and they give the meat to the elders and then sell the meat at Gakwio Farms for the community members. And I just think it's really cool to live, like, literally 2 minutes away from this farm, where my tribe, my people come together and, like, we rebuild this relationship together, and I think that's just really awesome to see. I just wanted to conclude with talking about environmental colonialism, how it's still a big factor in the way that humans interact with nature today. I think it's very important that Indigenous people continue to rebuild these relationships that we used to have with nature, and in doing so, it will benefit the earth as well as us. I also wanted to mention that, like, I know I've said this a million times, but, like, the relationship between humans and nature needs to change because Indigenous people view nature and the environment as a family, like the three sisters, and then in the Ganonyok we mentioned our brother, the water. We literally view nature as our sisters and brothers. And I think that's really important, and it speaks volume to how Indigenous people view the environment. And I think everyone should view the environment that way. And then the last thing to keep in mind through this rebuilding is that we as humans are not separate from nature, and nature does not exist for us in our consumption. Yeah, thank you.